Okay, the city of Babylon was shown in the middle, and beyond the inner circle are bitter rivers. Now, what are these bitter rivers? You know, salt water oceans. Now, we have got the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Southern Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. So, oceans, what is the speciality, or what is the feature of oceans? Oceans are saline. What is the meaning of saline or salinity? It means salt. They are not fresh water. It is salt water. And if you drink the sea water, it will be bitter in taste. That's why they call them as bitter rivers. They didn't know how large or how big an ocean is. They had no clue. They had no idea. So they called them as bitter rivers. Okay, and all salt water oceans, in which there were 7 triangular oceans. Now we saw this picture here. See that? We can't see a part of it. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can't see the others, right? It's broken. So this is a very old tablet, and some of the remains that were found while they were doing excavations. All right. So this is how the map of Babylonia was depicted. So Babylonia was the center, and all the other places around, and then the bitter rivers. Okay, what are these bitter rivers? Nothing but oceans, the salt water oceans. All right. Now let's look at this map here. Now we must know the location of Babylonia. So this Babylonia is a part of our in the world map. If you see in the world map, you will see Babylonia, and Iraq is a part of Asia. Okay, Iraq is in the continent of Asia. That's why I just showing you this map. So this is Babylonia along the river Euphrates and Tigris. The Babylonian civilization existed, and as you come down, so not very far, both Babylonia and Sumeria, both were next to each other. Okay, and they flourished along the river side. Why did the ancient civilization grow along the river? Because these rivers are the main source of water, main source of transportation, main source of food. So these rivers played a very important role. So the people lived along these river valleys or the deltas. They were called the deltas, and the river on the river side and the river beds. So the Babylonian civilization, the Sumerian civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization, the Indus Valley civilization in India, all these are ancient civilizations which flourished along the large, huge, big rivers. So they are, Babylonia and Sumeria are today located in the modern country of Iraq. Now directions, okay, most of the routes or the directions were from east to west. So this is the compass, and this is east, west, north and south, just for you to know the directions. They used to draw from east to west. So that's how the drawing was done on the maps. All right, let's look at the next part of it, the geographers of Greece. Okay, the country of Greece. Okay, Greece is in Europe, and the geographers of Greece played a very prominent role in making different types of maps. All right, let's repeat that again. The Greek geographers played a very important role in making different types of maps. So the 3 prominent geographers, who are they? Let us talk about. Anaximander. Okay, next we have is Hecataeus. That is the name, Greek word. So the pronunciation is a little different. Hecataeus of Miletus, which is the modern Turkey, and Herodotus. So these are the 3 prominent geographers from the country of Greece, okay, who have tried to make very accurate maps. They prepared the world maps, arranging places from east to west. From where? From east to west. So that is how they drew the maps, and they played a very prominent role in making east to west and north to south. So here is a picture of three of them. Okay, so we have Hecataeus. Okay, this is Hecataeus, this is Herodotus, and this is Anaximander. So this is a picture of these three geographers from the country of Greece, who played a very prominent role in making maps. Now here is the picture, okay, the type of map that he made. Okay, what did he do? They showed Greece as the center, and then they showed three continents only: Europe, that is Africa, which was known as Libya, and then Asia. So they made Greece as the center of the map. When they drew the maps, they made Greece as the center of the map, and they showed Europe on the top. They showed part of northern part of Africa, which is called Libya here, and then Asia. And they haven't even shown complete Asia. Their ideas were similar to the Babylonians, who believed that the earth was round. All right, so whose ideas? These ideas of these three Greek geographers, their idea also was similar to what the Babylonians believed. They believed that the earth was round. Okay, they traveled widely. That means these three geographers, they went to different parts of the world. And what did they do? They drew everything, and every aspect of where they traveled, they made maps on a flat surface with a lot of pictures in it. They prepared maps based on their travels and descriptions. So they described the place also on the map, and they placed Greece in the middle. That is exactly what I am saying. So this is Greece here. Okay, Greek is the center of Europe. All right, so this is where it is. So they placed Greece in the center, and this is what? The Mediterranean Sea. And then they had Europe on top, because the Greece was in Europe, so they gave importance. So whichever place they live, they give importance, and that place will be on the top. So since Greece was in Europe, Europe was given importance, and that is on the top of the map. And those which were not of much importance where they traveled was Africa, which they called as Libya, and this is Asia. So you see, they traveled and they divided the world into three continents. That is exactly what I told you, all separated by the Mediterranean Sea. After them, the Romans were greatly interested in making maps. So after the Greeks, we have the next country, that is Rome. The Romans also took a lot of interest in making maps. They wanted to conquer the world and build colonies. So why did the Romans make the maps? What was the what was the importance of making the maps, and why they wanted to do it? Because they wanted to conquer the world and build colonies. So that's why they wanted to make maps. Maps became very useful and necessary for the Roman emperors. Now look at this picture. Now we were talking about lines of latitudes and lines of longitude. So we said that they made lines of longitude and lines of latitude to get an accurate map. Okay, now why did they draw this? So these are lines of latitude which run parallel to the equator. The equator is the 0 degree or the center of the earth, and you have northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, and these lines of latitudes go around the earth and they are called lines of latitude. These are called lines of longitude. They come from North Pole to the South Pole. And what happens when you join the lines of latitude and longitude? They form grids. Okay, so these lines of latitude and these lines of longitude are used for locating places on the map. Okay, so how do you locate? Now suppose this is the equator. From the equator we see how many degrees. Now this is Asia. So India is somewhere here. So we say from the equator we say India is so many degrees, 23.5 degrees from the equator. This is 0 degrees. So 23.5 degrees. Suppose this is 0 degrees and this is 23.5 degrees. So this is where the location of India is, towards the northern hemisphere in the eastern side of the world. Okay, so we are to the north in the east. So many degrees north, so many degrees east is the location of India. So that is how we calculate, or we show, or we locate the place on a map using the lines of latitude and longitude. Okay, the Greeks tried to make accurate map. Means what? Correct maps. Accurate means something which is very, very correct and it is exact. Okay, with the help of longitudes and latitudes, they tried to find out a set of places where midway occurred. Okay, so they tried to find out places where midway occurred. So what is that midway that we see here? Prime meridian is 0 degrees, and the equator, this is the midway between northern hemisphere and southern way. This is the midway, and between eastern and western, this is the 0 degrees. Prime meridian is the midway. All right, so they drew latitudes by connecting the places with equal length of shadow at noon. So how did they draw the places, or how did they even calculate the time? By shadow. Okay, the movement of the sun and the shadows and towards which it pointed, that is how they found the direction of places, and that is how they used it for locating places on the map. With the help of the two lines, they drew a grid. Now what is a grid? I just showed you what is a grid. These boxes, you see, which are formed, these between, by the lines of latitude and lines of longitude, they are forming small squares in between. These are called as grids. These small little squares that we see in between are known as grids. So they use these grids, okay, to locate a place. Okay, located places in all directions. It took 2000 years to get correct longitudes and latitudes. What did it do? It took 2000 years to get correct longitudes and latitudes. The sailors in turn helped them by telling about the places they visited. So sailors, they sent a lot of sailors to travel around and bring information. Using the information by these traders, by the sailors, collecting all that information, they began to find the directions. I told you, from east to west, from north to south. They began finding the direction and locating places on the map using the grids. Another famous geographer, Ptolemy. Okay, Ptolemy is a very famous ancient geographer. All right, most of the ancient maps gave correct information of Europe. You see, the Greeks, the Romans, all these people created, or they began to travel around and they began to find out, and they began to search, and then they began to draw. And that they began to slowly make it more and more accurate, means more and more correct. Okay, they also gave correct information about places visited by the traders. So they started actually, saying in which direction what place is there, in the east what is there, in the west what is there, in the north what is there, in the south what is there, and they began to give correct information. Okay, and they placed Greece or Rome in the middle of the map. So if the geographer is from Greece, Greece was the center of the earth. If the geographer was from Rome, Rome was the center of the earth. They did not know about the interior places because they went only along the coastal line, okay, along the sea coastal areas. They did not go inside the land because they had no idea what is there inside, and they were afraid to go inside. So they traveled along the sea coast. Okay, now we know what is a sea coast, right? Okay, let me draw that for you. What is the sea coast? They traveled along the sea coast. Suppose this is the map of India. Okay, now what do we have along? We have the waters all around. So this is called as the coastal area. This is known as the coastal. Along the sea is called, this area is called the coastal area, where we have the sea coast and the beaches. Okay, so this is called as coastal area. Alright, so this is known as the coastal area. So they traveled along the coastal area and they didn't go inside. They didn't go into it. Why did they not go inside? Because they didn't know what they're going to find inside. Okay, and the sailors were more familiar with the surroundings of the coastal areas. But if you look at the map that is made by Ptolemy, he made Sri Lanka bigger than India. Is Sri Lanka bigger than India? Let's look at that. Okay, now this is the coastal, and how big is Sri Lanka? If we draw Sri Lanka at the bottom and we see it is a small island, right? This is Sri Lanka. It is a very small island, right? India is very large. But if you see the maps that Ptolemy made, Sri Lanka was shown big. Why Sri Lanka was shown big? Because they traveled around Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island, so they could go around Sri Lanka. But India, they only traveled along the coast. So they thought India is very small because they could not go inside. They could not come into the interior part of India. So they thought India is very small and Sri Lanka is very big. So that is how Ptolemy showed in his maps. Okay, the books of Ptolemy were used by Arab scholars to prepare maps. So Ptolemy was one of the most famous ancient geographer, and the maps that he made were pretty accurate, and he used information given to him by the sailors and by the traders, which he included and tried to make very accurate maps. And the maps made by Ptolemy were used by the Arab scholars to prepare the maps. Now let's see about the Arab scholars. Let's talk about the famous Arab scholar who made maps. We have Al-Idrisi. Okay, Al-Idrisi is the name of the Arab geographer who made maps. He was from Arabia. He prepared world maps for his king He prepared world map for his king in 1154 Common Era. What is CE? Nowadays we use the word Common Era. Initially we used to say before Christ and after Christ, but now they have changed it and say the CE means Common Era. It was written in Arabic. So in which language? He's from Arabia, so he wrote in his language, that is the Arabic language. It had a legend. What do we mean by legend? We studied in 7th class. A legend is a small key on the map. At the bottom of the map, what do we see? Every time we have a map, suppose this is a map of India, we want to show the mountains. At the bottom of the map, we will see a table like this, which will tell us different symbols, lines, okay, places, colors. You will see different things. So this little box which talks about the map, what is in the map, is called a legend. So he prepared a legend for his map. Alright, and then what did he do? It shows Arabia as the center. So because he was from Arab, his map showed Arabia as the center, and it does not show details about Africa. It shows very little of Africa, and it just shows South Asia, and then it does not show anything else. Okay, he showed Arabia as the center, and then he showed a part of Africa and a part of Asia. Interesting things of this map: it shows South towards the top and north towards the south. So his map had the directions in the opposite side. Being in Arabia, being Arabs, they usually write from left to right. We write from left to right. They write from right to left. So even his directions he showed the other way. Okay, so he showed north at the bottom and south on the top. So that is the interesting feature of his map. Now the Bible, let's talk about maps from the Bible. Very interesting. You will see that interesting maps were made in the Bible also, and there are maps today of ancient biblical maps. Okay, Europeans were influenced by religious ideas of the Bible. They were very much influenced by the Bible and the journeys which the lot of prophets and people like Moses and people like who have formed new countries like Israel. Okay, so from Egypt, okay, from the Jewish people, the Israelites, they were slaves in Egypt for many thousands and thousands of years, and then they got liberated and they moved from there and they traveled all the way along through Asia, through River Jordan and all, and reached a part of the country which is now the present Israel. All right, so that is these ideas, the biblical things, the biblical events, the journeys were all depicted in the Bible and maps were made. It is surrounded by an ocean. It is divided to 3 continents, Asia, Africa and Europe. Even the biblical map is in 3 continents only, Asia, Africa and Europe. Asia was considered the largest and the most important. So why was Asia considered as the largest and the most important? Because Israel is in Asia. So Israel became the center of the map. So Asia was given more importance because the Jewish Jesus was born in Jerusalem. So where was Jesus born? Jesus was born in Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was given all the importance, and it also shown on the top. Asia is shown on the top because Jesus was born in Jerusalem and Israel is in Asia, and the center of the world became Jerusalem and the country Israel, and Asia is the continent, so it is an important continent because they lived in Asia. So that came on the top of the map. Europe and Africa are shown at the bottom and smaller. See the map here. See Asia, how big it is shown. Then you have Europe and you have Africa. This is the original map if you see. And this is the biblical map that you see, Asia, Europe and Africa.